Oh shit, that's a good point.
All right, viewers. It turns out that this is what one would call a poorly prepared show because I didn't move people's faces around. And I feel like we can solve that very quickly. There we go. You know what? Listen, you don't have to move. It's up to me. This is Shipbreakers. It Stars Without Numbers Revised, episode 15 of this particular show. We are joined by our stellar sailors, the crew of the LAS Golden Goose, Ludemann as Quentin Alexander Polk the Fourth, Psionic, Dunamis as Vandorn, Van-Vee, Vantis, Mechanic, and KainDamael as MINERVA, a true AI. What can I say except that Maclay 8 has officially flagged these fellows for a additional experience point on behalf of their efforts to salvage a ship. I guess technically it's good enough for Maclay 8, so it's good enough for the rest of us. That said, we should probably talk about goals. Homework. Dunamis, I believe you reset your goal. I got you to settle in for learning about the cultural warfare room.
Yes. And as more of a result, as a group trying to figure out what are we going to do with it? Like, how do we assess its threat level? And I know we started talking last time about there's a lot of tech here. Do we really turn it all over? Or do we break the contract? And Van-Vee's probably really worried about this war room and its capabilities that he doesn't quite understand.
Very well. Anybody else got some goals? We also need a crew goal. Based on the fact that Maclay has flagged the ship as salvaged, break the ship will no longer be an applicable crew goal.
Okay.
You can no longer coast
thinking on the spot
on that 10 plus episode XP buffer.
Oh no.
What about a crew goal of determine the disposition of the ship?
I mean, I feel like you've got a pretty solid disposition on the ship right now. It's crash landed under some ice and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I mean, like what
You've explored
decide
almost
what we're
every
doing.
room.
Decide what we're doing with the different parts of the ship and what we found on it.
This sounds like rewording salvage the ship in a different way to me. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I feel like if you were to say
crew goal,
something like determine whether or not to break our contract, that would be very interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I think that really is sort of the crux of the discussion.
It's part of it, I think, for sure. I mean, at the very least, we could say,
or at least how much do we plan to violate
Determine your
I was going to
adherence to
say,
the contract.
Should we break our contract? And why is the answer yes?
You know, I just want to say, y'all motherfuckers always talk about how you're not going to do the job, and then in the end, you do the job. So before you get too high and mighty on me, just know you have 100% batting record of compromising.
I feel
yourselves.
like it's about coming away from the job with the most positive outcome for us.
Sure.
And for the galaxy as a whole, because that's what we care about.
Good luck.
And this is why you're the captain.
Quentin, MINERVA, short-term goals, have they changed?
I mean, I still want to definitely get everyone through this thing and come out the other end alive. But
there's definitely,
I don't know if that's...
No, you definitely still have quite an
enough risk here.
Risk and also, drop off may be its own thing depending on how you choose to play this.
True. Yeah.
Retrieving the whole ship. Ooh, boy. Ooh. Retrieving the ship intact. That is, it's not impossible. I'll say that. Not impossible.
Not impossible.
Not impossible. Getting it in the atmosphere.
The impossible possible.
Impossible, actually. For your ship, it's too large for you to haul into the atmosphere. Sure. But you could certainly, using your salvaging equipment, get it out of the ice, for sure.
I'd like to invent a tractor beam that works within a planet's orbit. Seeing how I asked that 6 times.
Like a long-term goal. I think that's a long-term goal.
That'd be quite long-term. And the invention of it would almost certainly spark military interests in gravitic plate weaponry.
Not be gobbled up by... Never mind. I want to bring politics into this. Never mind.
I mean, you're going to get Iron Man. some Congress
Yeah.
is going to show up and be like, your suit belongs to the mandate government or something.
No, just like, you can't touch me. You want this guy, Hammer Tech, over here?
Yeah, Hammer Tech. I was thinking of that scene specifically
In the courtroom. He zooms in. Oh, it looks like you're having some trouble here.
I'm hacking you.
Yeah.
And
We're on
you
the
want
same
this guy?
page.
Yeah, I'd say you have at least 10 years.
MINERVA.
I want to try to determine what Prism is and what I want to do with it.
Ooh, determine what Prism is. Interesting. Okay.
Can I change mine? I'm sorry. I know I submitted it in Discord.
No, go ahead.
But I'm rereading my notes. I want to find out more information either about the recording or why Grace Vantis was viewed the way she was in that recording.
Okay. I think that will be extremely difficult, but not impossible.
That's fair. I mean, I don't need to get a... Granted, I need 4 XP to level, but I don't need buku XP every session.
We see clean-cut white uniforms in the style of mandate naval officers. But the mandate naval uniforms were not white, and they definitely did not have gold seaming. And rather than have any sort of unit patch or like mission designator, instead it's just stitched in transmit, the word transmit, in black lettering. As we see someone speaking into a microphone, and they say, "So, you can get through the day, but you're only using 5% of your power. What if you were to use 100%? Why not unlock your potential with the new Biden Blast energy drink?" And then you hear like a sound effects guy in the corner just play like a beep, pa-choo, pa-choo. And the person speaking turns and says, "Is that good? Are we done? This is 28 now? Okay. All right, good." He just storms through what is obviously the still intact mRNS Edith Skinner. He turns towards one of the like gilt posters in a frame, pulls out like a switchblade comb and does his hair real quick, and then he just looks at the poster and it says "Solo beveling, I alone bevel." And he puts his hand so close so that he's almost touching, and he says, "Just aren't doing it like we used to. Solo beveling was genius. It introduced the concept that safety standards in the colonies were totally useless, and only by bringing in mandate engineers for occupational safety and health could we begin to assuage the fears of the locals that yes, they were missing out on just truly basic knowledge that we could bring. If only I could get another idea." And the scene fades, and we can see that this man it was standing in the hallway to the engineering corridor. And, the poster is still there, still in its case, perfectly intact, as Quentin walks past it to join the rest of the crew in the engineering bay, which is still sideways, like the rest of the ship.
So what am I walking into? What are y'all up to as I walk in?
We had just plugged something in.
That's right.
Imagine you're walking
power.
in MINERVA standing in between like Van-Vee and the I don't know what you call it, the fusion core, where I guess the 6 cables would go, and Van-Vee's holding the other 5 cables like ready to plug, but MINERVA's is standing there.
So you've plugged in main power and reserve power. After a full second, Van-Vee, you hear in your head, BIOS startup successful. No boot drive found. Link system engaged. And it's a different voice than you've heard before.
All right. Well, this is some progress. So, got a different voice in my head, and obviously it's not the doorbell anymore, but it's missing the boot drive. We've got it's talking, right? So there's a BIOS, but we ain't got no operating system, so to speak. Whenever, any idea where that'd be stored, or should be, or maybe it's on one of these corrupted drives. I don't know.
Interesting.
There's storage
data connections
all over the ship. It's like built into walls and stuff. No, it's all completely worthless at this point. I mean, based on the fact that you've
the power
repeatedly,
surges, right? We said,
you've repeatedly got a boot drive warnings. Like these drives are all totally worthless. I mean, they had a massive power surge in the middle of a crash. It did not go well.
It seems that it is not likely that there's any surviving drives. If connecting main power didn't give us anything, I find it unlikely that any of these others are going to give us anything more for you to interact with.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know. It seems like we might be a little bit stuck on pulling out any extra data from these drives. We do have the paper backups, or at least some of it in the room that we can catalog and go through.
Can I ask I guess I'll just say it out loud. Can you run a diagnostic on your hard drives? Are any still intact? Run diagnostic.
Diagnostic complete. No boot drive found.
All right.
No power found in following systems: Prism, Spike drive, classified, engine.
Well, that makes sense. Oh, sorry. The voice is saying four cables we ain't plugged in ain't got power, so that makes sense. Quick diagnostic just reporting that we ain't got no operating system and ain't got no power to the 4 places we haven't plugged in. So I don't know, MINERVA. You know better than I do. I doubt these other 4 systems, engine, spike drive, and classified as we now know as a cultural warfare room. I doubt they have the operating system. So I guess if we keep turning the system on, what would our goal be?
It's possible that there are computer systems connected specifically to assist with those others, but it seems like there's going to be no main computer.
I just can't help but wonder, the way how classified and Cap, you said that room looked pretty intact, right? The warfare room, cultural warfare room. What if there's like a backup in there?
So, in terms of what we've seen throughout the ship, does it look like there's intact electronics like scattered around, or were there any like firewalled areas from these things? Or okay, we'd have to search. So,
or just plug it in.
Yeah, we could just plug it in. While we're doing this,
I don't think it's ridiculous to assume that you could go with a voltage tester and test to see if power could flow into a room. Right. That said, if you want to know if a room can turn on, the only real way to do that is to turn on power to that room.
Mm-hmm. I'm picturing MINERVA with like positive and negative.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know if you can get power from the back end of the ship in engineering to the front end of the ship at the cultural warfare room, if you don't want to do it by plugging power in, you're going to have to do wire testing along essentially the full length of the ship in engineering spaces, in the walls. Like, again, it's not impossible. It will just take a lot of time and tool work. It's going to be
patience that Van-Vee got.
Patience. It's the work of salvaging. And if you're looking for a quicker and dirty solution, you just plug the power in. What could go wrong?
Let me get my
at the very least, we should be having the Waldos like under MINERVA's direction, doing as much cataloging of like every thing that is around, and we can obviously have been participating in that, of course, but assuming some of that is happening. But
as you turn to MINERVA, you notice that she is uncharacteristically slightly distracted. Because from MINERVA, you may recall that you activated a sort of bulwark firewall system within you. As you did so, you attracted the attention of the thing on the other side of your consciousness. It has not relented on its assault on the walls of your mind. You have essentially, if you don't want either of your main bodies to deal with it, you basically have to task an additional personality just to keep watch on it and make sure nothing happens. It is truly bizarre. It's never gone on this long. I mean, it's at hours at this point.
Well, whatever. I feel like I've asked your thoughts here a few times. You usually don't take this long to respond. You have your answer ready to go usually before I even finish my question.
I can only process so many things at once. I'm sorry.
I think you get Van-Vee looks at the captain like that's new.
As far as trying to get any software running on the ship, we could try to power these other systems up and see if they have their own data cores.
All right, sounds good.
Hold up.
There's no guarantee, but I can say for certain that any main computer is likely dead.
That's fair.
If it didn't come up with main power, it would be. It seems unlikely that it survived.
The biggest lingering question that I have when I'm looking at this thing, Van-Vee, before you go and plug anything else in, is why did somebody feel the need to take an axe to this thing towards the very end, at the end? Did it cause the end? Some of those questions. I was hoping we could find some answer somewhere, some way. I was a little bit hesitant to go this route, but
I'm hoping for those same answers, Cap, because it feels like whoever took an axe to the system was right around when that message with the recording about my mom came in. So
Quentin would start walking over towards wherever the body was that was close to the axe. If there's and
there were 3 bodies in a pile there.
If y'all
are the most axe wielding worthy,
ready for a little weirdness, I can see if there's any answers.
You're activating your unique gift?
Oh, you mean with your ghost people? Yeah, do that. Who knows? We're not finding anything without plugging stuff in.
Did you fully brief MINERVA on your previous experiences?
No,
when you asked for its help?
Basically explained most of it.
The two of you were there at the bar together.
Yeah, at the bar. MINERVA was present for that one for sure. So you saw everything that he interacted with and did.
Did you talk about the one that asked that you cut yourself with?
I don't think he didn't bring that particular incident up.
Okay. But you did ask for help, and you did seem like you were concerned about this whole thing. So,
Has Van-Vee? He's never been there for this before, right?
No, this would be new for you.
Get my pistol ready.
Okay.
Don't know why, but it's what he's doing.
Yeah, and Quentin's kind of, his mouth's getting a little dry, and he licks his lips a little bit and says, "Okay, well, let's see what this does."
MINERVA will with the primary armature put down the cables and go stand directly next to the captain.
Quentin does pull from his pocket as this is happening, just a handful of protein cubes or bars or whatever it is from the ship that's beef jerky wise, and has that just because he doesn't know the rules yet, but he's figured out there's something related to living things or formerly.
And then you're activating your power. Okay, I am going to ask for total honesty from you. You've touched upon part of it. The thing is, I have never heard you say that you actually created an altar and sacrificed meat to it.
Oh, for the shadow.
Correct.
Yeah, that was something that was on my mind as something that I should probably do prior to doing this. Yeah, okay. So I have not, no.
You activate your power. You lose any ability to use telekinesis and are blind in your left eye.
Okay. No saving throw. It just happens.
Saving throw. You promised something to a metadimensional being.
I did this out of order. I
literally
have a note here to have done that before I started this. So.
You
I guess
feel something rip through the meta dimension and literally wrench your power from you and take half the light of the world from you. There's no pain involved, except I don't know if you're in a spacesuit right now.
I mean, I think I was.
You came out here using your telekinetic.
I did have pressure field
on.
Available.
Well, I mean, let's say you probably were in a suit for safety reasons.
I have been so far.
Yeah, let's say that. I won't have you just instantly freeze to death, choking on carbon dioxide in your lungs. That would be unusually cruel. But yeah, Minerva and Van-Vee, when you look into Quentin's faceplate, you don't see any like pain or anything, but his eye goes completely white. It doesn't have a pupil anymore, or like an iris in any way.
Is this permanent, or is this like what?
Captain, are you still with us?
I assume I'm feeling pain.
No pain.
Something of this nature. No pain.
No pain.
Just goes dead.
Does it look like anything's interacting with him?
He would start to speak, try to say if it can speak, I guess.
Speak.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You hear a
His
voice
voice doesn't
say,
feel good. This feels bad.
Well, it would appear that you have made a terrible mistake.
Oh, I do that a lot. Who's this? Shadow?
You turn around and you see someone wearing the uniform that we saw earlier, a white mandate naval officer uniform, gold seaming, the transmit patch, no other distinguishable markings. It's kind of androgynous person with the hair parted down the middle, but probably the weird part are like almost elven ears that there's almost no bottom lobe, and there's an elongated slash going back.
Okay.
Do we see this, or just
yes?
Yeah.
You both see this individual as well.
Minerva, is this normal?
This is expected.
He goes blind. Oh, okay.
We don't know that he's lost vision in that eye. We just know that it looks different.
See an eye that I'm probably pointing my pistol in the direction, but at the floor, not like at the shadow, but at the floor, just going, when did he get here? Who's that? Is this part of the...
There's not a lot of time. We got to ask questions.
All right.
That matter. This is weird. First question, the axe, power? Why did someone destroy it? Do you know?
An event happened which ripped through every level of the metaverse, including this 0th dimension. One which you and your people call Scream. It burned through the minds of those somewhat similar to you, driving them to madness and insanity. My understanding of the situation is that this figure, which I am wearing, and many other aboard this vessel, all died as a result of those actions, the insanity.
Makes more sense. Quentin holds up a cube or the beef jerky in whatever working hand he has. If he offers it, I don't know. He's trying to figure this out now.
This is animal flesh?
Yeah, or
would you like me to do something with it?
No, never mind. You need things. What else should we ask?
You are attempting to assign patterns to individuals like myself, and that is...
You're different. Do you have a name?
We are all different in the same way that all of you are different.
Makes sense.
Have you considered becoming a pactor? I suppose it's far too late for that for you, but...
Never heard the word. What's it mean?
One who acts as a avatar for someone like myself. there is a exchange. It's clear that you've entered into such exchanges before and failed to uphold them.
Oh. Yeah, I still have something on a to-do list for someone else that I spoke to. It's been a busy day. I should
I only
have
have
slept.
so much time here. Your power to draw me through is quite weak. I assume you didn't just call me in here to offer me processed animal cube.
No. Do either of you think of a question that like you want from this guy that he might know past?
From the conversations that Quentin and Minerva had, Minerva is here to observe and try to protect you from yourself, not to interfere in your experiment.
What is Prism?
Prism is a stealth drive.
Hides the ship. Okay.
It's not in the way that you are thinking. The crew of this ship were somewhat arrogant in believing it offered a sort of true invisibility.
I think Van-Vee is probably torn between wanting to know more about the ship, but after hearing that his captain has started entering into a pact and it didn't go well, and I'm assuming you have some sort of reaction that shows, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Curious, neither of your companions are Sunblades, are they?
That's
Sun
one more thing
hunters?
I'm trying to figure out what a Sunblade even is. It's a person?
You are exceedingly foolish.
Oh, I agree with that, sir.
Well,
100%.
you have to respect those who push the boundaries of what is.
Appreciate that. Are there any working data cores on this ship?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
After my captain here starts a pact, how can he say get out of said pact, or is he stuck? Like, is the only way to finish the one that he started to keep going?
I'm afraid that I don't know who he made a pact with, or what the terms of that are.
I owe an offering.
It would seem that it would be expedient for you to perform that offering as soon as possible.
Sure seems like it.
I only have a few moments left, so allow me to warn you. This ship is a graveyard to truly doomed souls. It would be unwise for you to also perish here. But should you do so, I will attempt to guide you. Goodbye.
Waves.
I mean, before you wave, they're just there one instant, gone the next.
You know, Cap, he's making me question a lot of your judgment. I feel like you're doing so much to try to do for our missions, but you ain't looking out for yourself, Cap.
Based on your readings, it looks like you're under an increased or a level of stress.
So that AP, it's he's blind in one eye. Did he lose feeling? And what was the rest of it?
You lost telekinesis.
You lost your
Right, he can't use telekinesis,
Yep.
and he's blind in one eye. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And Quentin does reach out. He's like tries to lift something, and it's not working. Something's not connecting.
Well, this ain't good. What you gotta do to make this right, Cap?
This
Need to go.
This is the price of trying to make deals with false idols. I have to caution you
Minerva.
from further endangerment to yourself.
Look, this is about pushing the boundaries of what we know. There's something out there much bigger and possible out there. I don't know what it does, how much it affects us without us even knowing. Things that you couldn't even see interacted with you in front of me, and you didn't know it happened. We need to answer. You were there for you know about that one. That's the one where like the original one when the message happened.
When I was shown as dust for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And he had talked to you about it. But yeah.
Do you have a way of contacting the one that you started this pact with? Like, I'm
not in specific, but I have an errand to run. I think to get rid of this. I hope. I don't know. He's blinking his eye. He's like reflexively trying to pick up things around him. Y'all wouldn't necessarily notice that, but it looks like he's twitching. Basically,
like the more that you give these things, the more of your soul that you give up, the more control they'll have over you. Just the small amount of concession you've already made gave some of these the power to reach out and affect you.
True. I'm learning the rules, but there's a whole universe out there. I have to explore it.
I think there's a difference between exploring and selling your soul.
I promise you, I will not go too far.
To honor the agreement that we made, I can't let you worship this thing.
Well, what do you mean with that thing, though?
I owe it. It's cash. This is no different than credits in how I look at it. I owe it something in return for what it gave me. You can't get something for nothing. That seems fair. I don't know the rules. I need to figure them out. I'm fumbling in the dark. I need answers. And right now, the only place that I could even possibly think might have them is the end of a riddle that we have to solve about Fair Zana, and see if we can make our way to the Gemini cluster. And
I agree, there are a lot of things that we need answers for, but they aren't worth your soul. We can just take more time.
It's not a soul that they've got, as far as I know. There's a lot of powers out in this universe that I have access to that are not, soul related. I don't know what this thing's done to me, but
you've given it enough that it can influence and damage.
All I know it's just a form of telepathy. People can make it so that he might just be making it so that I can't even think about my power. It could just be the equivalent of a block.
I feel like we're looking at this a little bit glass half empty here. I mean, it's a threat if you don't comply, but let's at least make it happy so it doesn't hurt Captain any further, and then see if Captain wants to keep going with this partnership or find a different partnership. I mean, whenever I gotta say, you're it's a little hypocritical of you to say not to keep going into any relationships as an AI. You were having all these conversations with Fairy and more, trying to understand better about yourself.
But I didn't give myself away.
Well, there's no way that Captain and I would have known that.
That's what I caution you.
And I appreciate that caution, and I want you there to pump the brakes. I appreciate
ask these things questions. Maybe there's knowledge that would be faster or unattainable in other means, but don't give them yourself. You can't be bartered. You yourself in what you are. Even without faith, you have to understand that giving yourself away is far too valuable to barter.
I don't plan on giving more than I've got to give, and I very much so appreciate the concern. This is terrifying. I can't see. I am locked off from something that I've had access to since I was a child. This is terrifying. Trust me. I don't know what I'm doing in any way, shape, or form, and there are things that clearly are greater than myself that can very much so meddle with me at this point. So yeah, no, I plan to use this sparingly. I plan to use this for need and for cause. I'd rather use it to help people than to further my own. Trust me. So
if the effort
I need to solve this right now.
If the effort to protect yourself from further damage involves you keeping this damage and losing a part of yourself, I'll be here to help you through.
Appreciate that. Dude.
Cap, I would just ask. I know you're trying to do it to help others, especially me on the ship. Let's not have you try that again on my behalf until we're a little more prepared on at least on your side. I don't know what a sunblade is, but maybe I could be one of those for you or something, and that'll get us halfway there. I don't know, but I think we gotta make this current one you started a pact with a little happy, and not use this power of yours again until we're a little more prepared, or I should say, you're more prepared.
All right, I will hold off, and like I'm 100% with Van-Vee. I need to see if I can appease this being right now that has stolen whatever it's stolen from me.
It will likely tempt you with further service and deepen this.
I'm not going to reach out to it. I'm just going to perform the offering it asked me to, at least to start there. It might show up then. I don't know.
I mean, as little as you've given it already, when however you entered this pact, it was already able to do this to you. Completing this ritual or whatever will only make this worse.
But don't you get the sense that any one of them could have done this to him regardless of any pact he entered? Like, we keep focusing on this one, but I feel like they've all got this power, no?
Look, they've helped me too. You're missing it. The point that it's like the guy who was just here said, they're all different. Yeah. It's about what's around you and what's happening. I don't know the rules. I'm trying to figure it out. But the first time that I dealt with these beings, they helped me. They offered me life. Literally, I would be dead without these beings otherwise. Like, I don't know that they're all good by any means. That seems very clear that they are not. But there's rules to this thing. I broke them, and I'm dealing with some consequences right now. All I know to do right now is to go back and play the game correctly, because that's the game I'm in.
You cannot play a game you don't know the rules.
Absolutely. But I know I broke this one, so
let me
I at least have
this.
to try to fix it.
If I were to teach you a board game and we sat down to play it and I explained none of the rules before we sat down, do you think it is a winning strategy to just do the moves that I propose you do?
Well, I did one that he didn't, which is that I used my power before I did what he asked. And this is the result. I'm not saying that I don't have to be careful. I know I have to be careful. And that's why I asked. I'm happy y'all were here to see this. But
you can't
this is a
do
path
what it
I gotta
asks.
keep walking, at least right now.
You can't do what it asks until you understand what it's asking you to do.
It's asking for some sort of exchange. Like I said, it's no different than me having to pay for goods and services to some degree.
But you understand the good, you understand the service, you know how currency and bartering works, you know the rules of the game, so you know when not to purchase something.
Even then,
that's what you don't know now.
That's just it. Is you don't even then, Minerva. That's simplistic. There's bad actors in any system. I can't know what I'm dealing with until I know. And I agree with you that this is incredibly dangerous. There's insane powers at play. I have no choice.
You always have a choice. If there's something that I have learned over the years, it's that there always is a choice. Even
this
if
is
it's
the one I'm making. And Quentin, I think, might teleport away at that point.
Right. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug in these here cables. So we didn't learn anything about the ship.
You did learn that
we did learn what Prism is.
Prism is a stealth device, so it's unlikely to be like an explicit weapon, right?
I would start by plugging in spike drive and engine.
Okay. Through the link, after about 4 seconds, you hear spike drive power online. Main thruster online. Sync online, awaiting prism system.
Run diagnostic of spike drive.
Serdecala Point Gen 1.2V Fusion Engine by Echelon Family. Online. Diagnostics report. Fully capable.
No shit. Well.
Awaiting connection.
Connection to what?
It's not currently plugged into the ship. Like, you can't use it to make a jump until you connect it to the rest of the ship. Right, it was their backup, it's their spare tire.
All right, well, shoot, looks like they could identify the spike drive from all the way in outer space. No one was a good one. This spike drive here's in primo condition. Oh, I guess I'm just talking to you, MINERVA.
So you are aware that the engines on this ship could be turned on, the thrusters in as many directions as are exteriorly possible to sort of start melting your way out, but you would need, bridge clearance in order to issue that command. Like, the link system has determined that you are a guest, right, and that you don't have those kind of rights. And, I just want to add, Ludemann said that you have a lot of objectives, but I just want to make sure that you recall from last week that the last reported location of Grace Vantis, and that you also have a historical jump map that you bought from your uncle from 0601 to 0602. Sorry, it's the other way around. 0602 to 0601. Yeah, it takes you to the black hole, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. And Scarfy is 700. Yeah, as I spell it wrong.
Do you mention anything about like the thrusters or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I feel like Van-Vee's not trying to hide anything, because if anything, he knows MINERVA might pick up on something he's overlooking.
Okay, so you're just sort of like parroting what you're getting over your link.
Yeah, I'm trying to run like diagnostics kind of repeatedly just to understand what condition the ship's in, what works, what doesn't, what's possible. Because knowing we have to somehow get the spike drive, I mean, it's not connected, but getting it out and deliver it is part of the contract.
I would like to do two things. First, I know that I've already crushed the security systems on the ship. Can I override and manually activate thrusters?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm not going to. Just want to know that I can. I also want to see if I can figure out anything about the link interface.
While you're attempting to activate the thrusters, they are reporting that they are waiting for Prism to come online. It seems that the thrusters will work, but they are not working at whatever optimal status is until Prism is also online.
Okay.
What do you want to know about the link?
I think I want to try to understand from the ship side, because it's the only side I can really see, if I can determine how it transmits and receives to the link, and any sort of software required for that to work.
It's a combination software, hardware. I think what you get is really basic documentation from the boot system of the link. Like, the link is fully online. The link is a biomechanical part. It is a partially organic electromagnetic wave sending and receiving signal that is then processed into a digital system rather than an analog system, and then inputted into the computer.
Would it be possible for me, do I feel like it'd be possible to maybe take some of these transmitter receivers and a copy of this encoding and decoding and install it on our own ship?
You would have to pull the physical system out of this computer.
So does it seem like it would be an unlikely amount of work?
Do you have the fix skill?
I do.
Okay,
All
make a
three
roll.
of us have it.
I think it's going to be using int.
Ooh, yeah.
It will take you about 24 hours of hard work. That's
That ain't bad.
continuous work.
Well, fortunately, I don't sleep.
Yes.
Van-Vee,
Yes.
I have breached the security of the ship. I do not require bridge clearance in order to manually activate the thrusters if we want to do so to try to melt some of this ice. It looks like in order for them to work in their optimal configuration and take the least amount of time, we would need to activate Prism. Additionally, I believe I have acquired the information necessary should you wish to install this link to our own ship. If you wish to interface with me and the ship in this manner.
Can't I already talk to you as long as... So, wait, this would be like I can
Minerva's the link.
talk to you when your armature's not around?
You already can. I suppose
I feel like that's just giving you the ability to hack my brain whenever.
well, I don't believe that's the case. You've said that these conversations that you've had through the link, you are able to acquire information, images, sounds, memories, correct? You're able to see, hear, and know things that you didn't know previously?
I mean, that's
being the ship.
that is true, but I mean, is that what you were designed to do? Would that work the same thing with you?
The nature of my relationship, the nature of my being the ship and this link are very different. But it would allow us to interact in the same fashion that you interact with the ship right now. It would allow me to show you things and possibly for you to show me things.
I feel like in this moment, Van-Vee is saying for the first time in his head, not out loud, can I turn you off to the ship? Like, can I make you stop talking to me?
The link system?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, I guess it's good to have the schematics, but let's table that, I guess, for now, because I do think we have few other pressing things we want to get to here, right? But I do think...
Just to be clear, you have no authority over the link system. You're a guest.
Right. Okay, yeah, I think that came out wrong. What Van-Vee's trying to understand is if he puts a link on the goose, Minerva's on the other side of the link, does he have any ability to tell Minerva, like, leave me alone, stop talking to me, or is she always in his head?
Minerva knows the answer to that question, and you don't.
Right, but that's why I tried asking the
Right.
link.
It doesn't have an answer for you because you're not auzed to read its documentation. Again,
So
you're a
in
guest.
Minerva's mind,
No
what is
system
the answer to
access.
that question?
Look, I'm going to be frank with you. Putting the link on your ship is a massive security risk. It's fine when you have a pervasive, all-controlling mandate super technology and artificial intelligence to defend it. But technically, you could use this link to seize control of Van-Vee's mind right now.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah.
Okay, so the security
And if you
risk
can
isn't
attach it to
for
the
me,
ship-
it's for him.
If you attach it to the ship and someone who has a link as well shows up, they could use it to seize control of the ship.
Right.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you're going to reprogram it and put firewalls in place, but that only works as long as you're still in that ship.
Right.
It is a
But it's
risk,
at least super valuable.
one that you could cover. But if you ever left the ship would then be vulnerable to someone else with a link, for sure.
So I don't.
You're
Van-Vee doesn't know how to
getting the
articulate
idea
this, right?
that the link was not designed as a
For an
helpful
AI.
tool. The
Yeah.
link was designed as a completely pervasive pairing with the dust system to monitor, mandate citizens at all times, and
I see.
understand what their wants and needs are so that they can be provided with bread and circuses instead of
Not a
rebelling.
neat interface for a computer.
Yeah.
It's not
but
Clippy, it's Satan, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Like, the documentation
amazing.
isn't like, this is an evil system, but it does outline its use case. And the use case is control, which is what this whole shit is meant to do. It's meant to control people.
Okay.
I'm not saying you couldn't put it in the ship, and it would allow Van-Vee to do some real cool shit. It would also allow you to do some real cool shit. But it does open another avenue of attack to the ship. One that would be extremely difficult to breach, but possible.
I think you're right. There are other things we need to take care of right now, but it's a conversation we can have when our priorities are taken care of.
Well, all right. Let's take those schematics then.
I have all the necessary information for now. It would,
Doesn't surprise me.
if we want to explore this option, it would take 24 hours of work to pull necessary components out of the ship.
And your spider bots, Roger, do that?
I could remove the system if we don't want them to help with other projects, namely removing the spike drive and the fusion plant.
It's a real one-person project, you know, like, you don't need 5 people to change
Just Roger.
a toilet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I could I could start removing that while we work on other things.
It's valuable. I mean, we are here to strip the ship. Depends
you
on
know,
how you view it, though.
I just want to ask, if we do this, are we giving it to balls?
Elanam restoration.
Kelanam, the Russians? I feel like this is the time we need to figure out what we're doing with this tech.
I'm not the person to answer that question about that specific piece of hardware, but if you wish to know which way I recommend you advocate, should we choose to try to integrate the system and increase your capabilities on the Goose, and somebody else has this technology, it is a vulnerability to you.
Well, my best guess would be
one that
members
I could try
of
to
my
protect
family have the link. So
should somebody study this, it could create an avenue of attack. One that I would do my best to protect you from, but it would be a lie to say that it wouldn't introduce a risk to yourself to give this technology to anyone else.
Well, I guess what I'm saying here is, and maybe you're saying the same thing, but let's take the tech and not give it to Caladon. Let's keep it. And I know that goes against, some of your morals here, Cap, and yourself, Minerva, but
Captain's not here.
Oh yeah, I'm on the ship.
You
Quentin
teleported away. I saw you physically coming back,
moment,
and I was like, okay, he's back.
Quentin's in the cargo hold currently, fashioning a plinth, and
Iona shows up with pizza.
I do recommend, even if you don't wish to integrate this system and increase your capabilities on the Goose, the existence of this system and giving it to somebody else is a risk to you and your family. At the very least, I recommend acquisition or destruction.
So I know where I fit out of those two, but what do you think, Minerva? I mean, Cap's not here, but I want acquisition because you never know. But you're right. If it is a true vulnerability and we don't think anyone should have it, the answer should be to destroy it right here, right now.
There's a couple of differences. For one, this system was designed without to be utilized in a non-beneficial fashion. This would require a level of trust between us. You would have to trust that I would protect you.
Well, heck, I feel like we've been watching each other's backs for quite some time now.
In exchange for that protection, you would have an increase in versatility and capability with the ship. We could communicate faster, disseminate information with each other quicker, and you would have the ability to do things in and around the ship that you are not accustomed to doing at this time, but would enhance your function on the ship.
I, as a player, and probably Van-Vee, cannot help but say, so, Minerva, are you saying we'd enter like a pact?
Okay, we're going to break on that. We're going to break on that.
Okay.
We're going to break on that. We'll be back for the second half in about 5 minutes. Stick around. And hey, maybe watch those Twitch ads. We're not going to pick up exactly where we left off. We're actually going to go back to the captain on the ship. You may remember that you woke Dr. Leslie Fish up out of a much needed and sound sleep.
Oh, yes.
You are assembling your plinth in the sort of common room. When she walks by, she's got a little handset radio where she's listening to something. Like, you hear the announcer say, welcome back to this episode of This Palinomian Life. My journey is at the beginning, a journey that will take me to a strange and dark place. The steam landau, its external combustion engine brimming, is leading me to a field of helicopters. Medical equipment is being gathered from every corner of the capital. It is a dark and stormy night, one where the blizzard is just now receding. Yeah, and it's just a really calm person talking in a really even, unflinching tone about the recent event that apparently they accompanied the helicopters in to drop off supplies and help the beleaguered hospital in Fishton. She just kind of looks at you, setting up a plinth and putting beef jerky on it, and just keeps walking.
So you went to the ship?
Yeah.
You went to our ship?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Minerva does know where you are.
Yeah, Minerva does know for sure. And it's not just beef jerky at this point. He's pulled out like something that's like expensive, like in his, and in his mind, like whatever that would be in terms of the ship. I don't know kind of supplies wise what we stock in terms of like fresh food versus ship food versus what does that look like?
We haven't ever talked about how good Minerva's cooking is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You said Minerva does all the cooking. I assume that it's kind of grocery store basic, not like A5 Wagyu beef, but like it wouldn't even be ground chuck. What you're serving is probably like elk or capybara jerky.
Ooh, I don't think we can do capybara.
That's no, I don't know.
Listen, I'm gonna be flat honest with you guys. Capybaras get old and die, and you got to do something with that meat. Okay. Some
Fair.
people raise them on other planets specifically for their meat.
Okay. That's sad.
The majority of people are eating soy or some sort of grain substitute.
Okay.
You're out here eating real meat, real capybara meat regularly, eating pizzas, never realizing.
Where do you think the pepperoni comes from?
I don't know how.
There's no livestock.
I don't know how to.
That's fair.
I don't know how to determine. There's no cooking skill, but I like to think that Minerva's pretty good at making something out of ship stores.
It would be the work skill.
Okay.
You want to start putting skill points in it?
Might need to.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd at least need to get a 0 in it for me to say that you make palatable food regularly.
Oh
Okay.
boy. Oh
Well,
boy.
now
So
that I
far,
know.
not so good.
I mean, I feel like so far a lot of it's just reconstituting freeze-dried stuff and
Okay. Yeah.
really basic. So, like the majority of your meals are mostly soy with flavoring packets and other
Okay.
like filler, just so that it looks like palatable food.
Yeah. Quentin's taken like
Look,
10%
y'all
of
motherfuckers
the
have been on
like.
space stations and on planets, and you never stop for a local meal. You even had the opportunity to go to a pizza shop, and I believe you chose not to.
No, Quentin took that. He brought a
you
pizza
did go.
back.
Well, that had real bread and real
Excellent.
meat sauce.
Fantastic.
Y'all go to space
Quentin is
stations.
like using up.
You don't stop at any bars. You don't talk to anyone. You don't access any information networks. People offer you food, and you strong arm them to keep walking back to the ship.
Whoa. I don't know if that's true.
I'm
Shoot
just
first,
saying,
ask questions later.
Y'all have done a lot to fail to interact with the world around you, and the world has reacted to that. Not just because
MINERVA
I'm
did
slightly
have
upset about it.
Early on goals to
The
acquire,
only person who
culture,
you communicated with that wasn't on your list of people to talk to was Slicer.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean,
we're very
he had a brief
goal-oriented
conversation
people.
with his uncle. We weren't specifically paid to talk to him.
Yeah, he just had to say "you with the wrench" 3 times before I was like, all right, I'm gonna go find that asshole.
We almost walked away from that.
That was
too.
clearly a storyline event, not ambient dialogue.
Every time
Anyway,
Van-Vee hears, "Hey, you with the wrench," he stops and listens. We just don't talk about it every single time.
you finish making the plinth. You've got this thing
Yeah.
loaded up with various
Got Shadow
meats.
written on it, right? I believe he asked for his name, Shadow written on it. That is there for sure. And he's got a blowtorch, Quentin, basically, because he's got to set this thing on fire. And he doesn't have access to telekinesis because he would normally literally be able to just do that. So he's like clumsily trying to figure out the blowtorch. And
I mean, you'd have the MINERVA hologram that would give one last. I highly recommend you don't do this, sir. But I see that you are. So I am here. I have no physical medium to intervene should that be necessary, but I can monitor and try to do what I can. I wish you luck.
Thank you. Sound the alarm. I don't know any other way. And he brings the blowtorch down on the thing and starts setting it on fire. And in his head, he or maybe out loud, I guess he's saying, "Shadow, this one's for you. I didn't realize that we were in an exclusive speaking relationship. Hopefully this is enough to..."
I didn't know we were exclusive yet. I'm sorry.
3 things happen at the same time. The first thing is that you're now left-handed.
Oh.
The second thing is that you
Bizarre.
have your telekinesis powers back.
Okay.
And the third thing is that your left eye can now see again, but your eye is red tinted, like you're wearing red colored contacts, and is now permanently bloodshot.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
Always itchy.
No,
That sucks.
it just looks sort of like someone who maybe brushed up with the demonic.
Okay.
It's no pain. It just passes quickly.
Quentin does go to a mirror and checks this thing out. And
I mean, I feel like
It's
MINERVA
weird
would
to have
probably.
heterochromatia.
I feel like MINERVA probably would have, from the projector, just like change the image of the standing micro MINERVA to your face.
So MINERVA,
So you can see like what you look like to MINERVA.
Quentin's messing with it, looking at it.
you
Walks
see
over
it.
to an Autodark.
Quentin does not. The meat, it doesn't smoke. It turns into smoke.
Oh.
I want to be clear. It's not like it's embery and catches fire and slowly burns away. Its entire physical mass changes from matter to smoke and then dissipates into the room.
I would like to run scans inside the ship.
Yeah? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for changes in any of the ambient readings in the ship. I'm trying to determine if there is, I guess, if there's anything is as blatant as a physical intruder on the ship, but also if there's any changes in background radiation or AM readings or something to suggest that there is something else existing on the ship right now that I can try to see.
No, nothing like that.
Did Quentin see like psionic activity? Was there a power, metadimensional energy, something like that he didn't see?
Yeah,
or...
like while you were turned away, you definitely felt a resurgence of metadimensional activity.
It's like synesthesia for him. He hears, he smells, he
Yeah, you definitely sensed something happened when you regained your powers, but you were turned away.
Mm-hmm.
You turn around and your offerings are gone. And there's a smell of acrid smoke in the air.
And he turns back to the image of himself that Minerva has shown him, and the eye, like the discoloration, and says, "Yeah, Minerva, I hear you. You don't have to say it. Be more careful." And he's poking at his eye a little bit, and goes over to the auto dock to get eye drops, and starts putting those in.
That doesn't help because it doesn't itch or hurt in any way, but
right. He does it anyway. One more thing to figure out.
Sure.
And yeah. Is there anything else that's like to notice or to that's it. Yeah. How's things going in the engine room, Minerva?
So Minerva, about this pact.
Yes, let's cut back to that conversation. Take the audience over for 11 minutes.
Quentin would pop down as Minerva fills him in, essentially.
I mean, you would get a video of your whole like setting up all the way to like current of you walking around the ship, so you would have seen from the like security footage the dissipation of your offering. I don't know if I would describe it as a pact. It would certainly require trust between us.
You trust me?
I trust Van-Vee.
Really? I would have thought that'd be the other way around.
I have met you previous to your merger. And as I understand, Vandorn had ethical issues with some of your behavior in a manner that I can't say that I entirely disagree with. Although I don't think
so did you.
Well, I don't think I see your character quite as negatively as he did.
Oh, that is the nicest thing you have ever said to me.
I think you're just a little lost. I don't think you're a bad person.
Well, we are out here trying to find my family, so I appreciate your help with that, trying to make me not lost anymore. But I still think, I mean, it sounds like you're already working on this, but let's take the plans. We'll figure out what to do with them at a later time, but I don't want to give those over to KainDamael. I want to keep those ourselves.
That's when Quentin appears and puts his hand on Van-Vee's shoulder.
As I was saying, we're going to let the captain decide what we should do with this agreement, because we don't have the authority to make decisions. Holy crap, what's wrong with your eye, Cap?
It's well, it works. I'm going to say that, so I'll be happy there.
I've seen your eye go from, what was your original color? Brown? Blue?
No, if I said blue, I guess. Yeah, sure.
In 10 minutes, I've seen your eye go from blue to white to now it's red. You okay, Cap?
I've had better days. I could use a nap.
Is this an improvement from where you were, 5 minutes ago?
I can see, and he reaches out, and something over nearby floats up and floats back down. And I can do my normal stuff. I feel I feel back to normal. It's not great. I feel like I'm in. Yeah, Minerva's got points. That's how I feel right now. Catch me up on this thing. I assume we catch up on the details of the link and the discussion there. And Quentin would bring up then at that point, like, what are the actual finer details of the contract and how this all works out and how we do the actual like resulting, you get this, you get that. I know when we talked to KainDamael, we had they specifically want the fusion engine and the spike drive. Those were their two main gets and goals. We get 20% of the value. And well, yeah, I don't remember where the data was.
20% of the value of the rest of the ship.
Yeah, and so, but what does that equate to?
You give them everything, and they pay you money based on.
So it's literally like we are intended to get specific credits for them.
That's how I understood.
For anything we give. Okay. All right.
Now, there's nothing in the contract that says in one way or another you couldn't buy parts back from them.
I see. Right. So in exchange, we keep these things, and then you don't pay us this amount or something of that nature.
There's nothing in the contract in either direction to say or prohibit that.
So there is a degree of horse trading we can do to, keep some things potentially as long as
they've been accommodating with you to some extent.
Right.
Given their
one thing we do have as a bargaining chip on the table is they want us to install the fusion engine and the spike drive, and that is a big chunk of change that they offered, like 500,000 credits. So if there's something that we think is like worth it, there we go. That's another thing we can throw into the mix.
Cap, I'm wondering. I don't want to intentionally yes, I do. What if we do pull out like this link drive information, but we don't tell them exactly what it is or what it does, and so we can buy it back from them cheaper, so to speak, like position it as a way as you guys wouldn't want this scrap. We're just using this scrap metal. We'll burn it down, but actually we could use this material and then we just keep it and buy it for cheaper. I mean, I don't think there's many people that can identify what this is that MINERVA's pulling out right now.
I tend to generally agree with you. Look, like ethically, I would much rather be dealing with them, straight up on certain things. But this is a dangerous piece of technology. I'm more than willing to fudge the numbers a little bit to make sure that they don't get their hands on something that is completely absurd. When at the very least, we have a better idea of what to do with it. And from their perspective, there's some stuff that they just don't have the resources to deal with anyway. I think that there's a lot of this that's just going to be above their heads, above anything that they could wind up using. We have way more context in that realm. I think there's a lot of arguments we can make that some of this rarer stuff has a better home with us, even if we are, fully upfront on some of it. But yeah, I agree. We don't have to give them all the info. If it's something they don't know about, we don't have to explain the whole 9 yards to them.
I mean, we do run the risk, I suppose, if they've got someone even close to the technical level MINERVA that could help identify what some of these components are.
And that's just it. So that's why it's like, the way I look at it is it's better if we can be honest and upfront and make our plans and negotiations and see what we can do.
Well, actually, MINERVA, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts on this? And intentionally misleading to disguise, like, say, this link information as just old, hide it in with all the corrupted hard drives and just say, well, we'll take it for scrap or something.
I dislike the idea of deceit, but I also understand that the information in the cultural warfare room, the potential usages of the PRISM system and the acquisition of the link all pose significant threats to us and the rest of the sector, depending on who ultimately ends up using it. Specifically, for you, if somebody else were to acquire, understand, and utilize this link system, they could just assume control of you.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
And you would have
at least
no
that's
protection.
At least that's just a threat to me. I feel like this cultural warfare room, that's a threat to any planet, really.
True. This also would allow somebody to try to, instead of terminate other members with the link, start accumulating them, including the other members of your family, potentially.
Well, so I guess it sounds like we are aligned that we don't want to disclose everything. I guess the question is, are we intentionally hiding, or are we just intentionally misleading what it is, or are we just hoping we have enough money to buy them back outright and being truthful up front? Those are the three choices I see.
I think it could be argued that the logistics of the link system would be very, very difficult to replicate and use. I think we could use that to justify a lower value on that and make it an academic curiosity for the most part. The Prism system is going to be highly valuable once they know what it is and if I can even figure out how it works. The spike drive is going to be
ship, right. Like I don't know exactly how this works. Is it 20% of the value of what we can pull off the ship, or 20% of the value of everything we catalog? Or
actually, that's a good point. Is the spike drive and fusion plant included in the other 80% or no? Because that will make a huge difference in terms of...
Yes, they are included in the 100% of value.
That's good.
And the value is of the whole wreck, or that we've surveyed, or just the stuff that's it.
Just the stuff
it's what you bring back, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But you get paid based on what you bring back, so it would behoove you to bring as much back as possible.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. Yeah. It's just a matter of, that's good to know, because, you know, if we just want to leave something behind, at least we could technically.
Now, it crosses into a realm of things that feels a little bit unethical, but if we were to try to give ourselves more financial control of this, and we attempt to remove and give them the Prism system, in doing so, I would have the exposure to study and potentially come up with a way to defeat the system.
I'd like to try to negotiate the Prism system, the cultural warfare room. That's the one I'm worried about. How do we get that by them? And then the link system, I want to buy those back. I mean, do we have any sense of what the spike drive, like what these things are worth, what the spike drive and the fusion plant might be worth, and then compare it to the other three and see how close we are to that 20%?
Sure.
Spike drives are expensive.
The problem is you also need to price the things that you want.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So starting with just those three, I guess.
So, you know, the value of a level 1 spike drive meant to be inserted in a cruiser/frigate size ship. This is meant for a frigate. Is known. That number is known. The fusion plant, a little less so. So, you know, for your ship, you don't technically have a fusion plant. That would be unusual because your spike drive provides all the power you need. The other ship, they got a fusion plant and installed it just to keep the power on because they don't have a spike drive. You're not really, based on that, you're starting to question why they need a second fusion engine at all.
MINERVA suspects that they have something along the scale of a grav cannon that they're trying to power.
Correct. You do.
It hasn't said anything about it.
Yep. That said, if they already have one, why do they need a second one? If the spike drive should theoretically turn the ship on. Although, again, it should be noted, the ship that they stole is technically cruiser sized. So this spike drive engine, without rewiring and significant loss of mass, will not work well with the ship that they have.
But they want us.
They're going to need supplemental power at the very least in its current condition.
So you guys keep talking and I'll get you some prices on those 2 ticket items. How about that?
That's fair.
So, I mean, in terms of what we're looking for, the major concern is the information in the cultural warfare room. And
Prism and link.
Prism itself. And what's that?
In the link.
On the link, yeah.
The thing I'm worried about is something like the Prism is priceless, so it doesn't really...
Doesn't really matter. I mean, there's a ton of generic components that like make up, you know, the rest of the ship that have a ton of value theoretically, right? Like, especially to KainDamael itself, right? They've got this giant ship that is completely torn apart. They need a ton of spare parts.
I mean, if we talk about things from a material component, there's the possibility that we disassemble Prism in a way that it cannot function. It becomes
that's exactly it, right? Like, just turn it into spare parts. You don't have to turn over a working system, you know, to them.
And some of these things are going to be made out of very rare materials.
Exactly.
So they will still be valuable.
Scrap it, literally.
Speaking of that, if there's any I mean, these are just a list of things Van-Vee's probably writing down that we could take, like take any of the thrusters apart, just general scrapping.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we got a catalog.
What's it called? The hull that we knew we wouldn't be able to cut through because it's not something we've seen in ages. Mm-hmm. That's got to be invaluable.
Yeah, Quentin had examined that like panel in the bridge it's got like all sorts of
secret access.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's going to be a point where it's going to take us too long to keep salvaging, and we don't have room on the Goose to keep grabbing it all.
Yeah, I mean, they're in orbit. We keep ferrying stuff up. I mean, I feel like we can scrap as much as we want to.
Especially if you wind up taking, the job to do some installation on the ship, we could be here for weeks, just pulling every single piece of wire out of it.
And if we bring up the fusion plant and the spike drive in the first go, and we just sort of cut and keep bringing raw material into orbit while we help install those, we'd be here for a while. We could salvage we could salvage as much as they can hold, basically.
Yeah.
And we can get the full payout for helping with the installation.
Exactly.
Well, while we're debating this shit, I mean, there's only two things left to turn on. Do we try Prism, MINERVA, see if you can learn anything from it here?
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was any specific danger to turning things on based on, well, I mean, I can't say that for sure, but the acts and the events that led up to the ship were based off the screen. Folks went literally nuts and caused a bunch of collateral damage that brought the ship down. So theoretically, turning things on shouldn't be too insane. But again,
I don't anticipate that activating Prism will pose a danger to us. If we activate it, there are some of the panels for the system that are damaged. The diagnostic tells me as much. Otherwise, activating it may give enough of a behavioral change, enough of a physical change in the ship that they might know that something exists.
Whenever when we entered the atmosphere, we picked up interference. Some of it was natural, some of it seemed to be manufactured. You don't think the prism on the prism on this ship is causing some of that manufactured interference?
It's possible, but I don't. It
wasn't powered. Enough. That wouldn't be possible, right? I don't know.
I suppose it's possible. I don't understand the nature of the prism. I don't know if it has its own low power, high power state, or if part of its construction just naturally reflects and causes interference. But I would think for the amount of interference that I was noticing, I can't say for sure it's not the prism, but I don't think it's likely to be the prism.
Right. Okay. One way to find out. Plug-in cable.
You're plugging in the prism cable? Okay, so the spike drive 1 is worth 400,000 credits. The fusion plant would not normally be worth this much, but it is a compact and pre-tech device which has increased its price by quite a bit. So for instance, the one that's on the Glory to Kalanom right now, it is not a full-sized fusion plant. It's small enough that it can fit in the ship. It's basically enough to keep the lights on, like a backup generator sort of deal. This is a full, you could run a city on this thing, essentially, a modern city.
Cool.
Worth 100,000. You plug in Prism, and the connection between the Waldos and MINERVA stops.
I was afraid of that.
Any Waldos that are, I should say it differently. Let's assume that the Waldos are controlled from the ship. The Waldos that are on board the Edith Skinner are now forced to be controlled from the MINERVA chassis rather than from your ship. Signals going into the ship are no longer penetrating.
Does it feel like quantum ECM?
No, not like that. So, the connection between the two MINERVAs is not cut, but you don't need that to block the Waldos. The Waldos are not, quantum ECM level of defense. They're just drones, essentially. Fancy drones, but
Yeah.
Ship, what
How
is
does-
directive of Prism?
How does this look from
Yeah.
the ship's perspective?
What the
Does
ship
it-
sees now from the outside, it's hard to get a good angle. You did land kind of close. It now sees the open door of the airlock, and then it's like the airlock is a slice in space, and then you see the far side of an ice cavern.
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay.
So you ask the link system for Prism, and it just ignores you. It knows that you're only a guest. So,
Well, now that we've powered it up, I would like to check the active diagnostics for Prism.
okay, Prism is 87% online. Hull paneling along the port side of the ship has taken some damage and will need to be replaced. Prism is active with the engines. Engines can now be used at full power without risk of overwhelming Prism's sinking ability.
The system is 87% operative, and the engines and thrusters are synced to operate with Prism without violating its operation. Coincidentally, we now have full power access to. We have the capabilities to fully utilize the thrusters and engines. Not that I recommend using the engines, but we can use the thrusters.
Did before? So
Not in their.
Just to be
most
clear,
efficient.
you could use 100% before. When I said sync
Yeah.
the second time, it's SINK, not SYNC.
Okay. It's an interesting system. I see a cave.
what do you mean you see a cave?
Well, I suppose the question is, how does the stealth look, correct? When I look at the ship from outside, I see
I see.
I see an ice cave.
So you're
It doesn't just reflect sensors. It passes through readings. I can still see the ice wall on the other side. But that is what I see, is the ice wall on the other side.
I mean, that's incredible. It's definitely valuable. You know, we don't have a lot of direct use for it ourselves, but at least right this second.
Anything else change? I mean, don't get me wrong, that's pretty cool.
I mean, paneling on the port side of the ship is where the 13% loss of capacity is.
There's
There's
actually
damage
a
there.
leak in capacity while you're talking. It's losing like percent by percent just as it powers into areas around the damaged area that, now that they have power in them, become damaged as well.
I suggest we power down the system if we wish to keep any of this functionality. It requires repairs. It seems to be a very sensitive system. It is damaging itself.
Well, all right. Was this one
turn it
right?
down.
Unplug.
You just,
I feel like there's
you
got to be a
unplug it
better
without
way.
shutting it down.
This guy.
Did you just yank the cable?
We didn't really turn it on. We just plugged it in.
Can we turn it down? Like,
I feel like it's a little late. I want to just
Minerva?
have Van-Vee pull it out, and
Well,
the system
yeah, I mean-
suffers a catastrophic power loss.
I feel like you yank the cable out, and then Minerva just looks over and says, "I believe you may have just accelerated the damage to the system."
Oh, well, as long as it's not
That's-
totally dead.
I guess 2 birds, 1 stone.
That's true. I suppose if we wanted to if we wanted to make sure that this was a material salvage, we could run the system until it fails.
Well,
You know,
only-
I would like to study it before we destroy it, though, if that is the course you choose to wish to take.
yeah, definitely spend some time studying. I mean, if nothing else, we can always dismantle as much of it as we want to take up. So yeah, feel free. find out as much about it as you can. Find out as much about it as you think is worth, being able to figure out what we should take apart and go take to them to sell. That's really another aspect of this. Like we said, we don't have to bring them a completely functional system as far as that parts go. Pieces and parts are as valuable as anything to them right now.
I think there is the one Waldo that is disassembling the link to be able to remove it from the ship.
Okay.
And then I've probably sent another Waldo to where I know one of the panels are in the section of the ship near the airlock that we've opened up, to try to do a studied disassembly.
I guess we're going to be here for a little while. At some point, Quentin would like to, we got to think about cataloging the cultural warfare room in some way, shape, or form.
I think you notice Van-Vee's holding that cable saying, only one left. What are we doing?
All right.
Any precautions
MINERVA,
we should take before this one?
I'm unsure if the systems in the cultural warfare room are going to utilize your link to exercise control over you.
Well,
there is a potential loss of control.
You think you can stop that, MINERVA?
Well, just to be clear, they can't make him a puppet and force him to move around and do things, but it can implant ideas into your head that make you want to
we've seen it.
Yes.
Drive him towards the engineering room,
correct,
right? Or at least something.
Yes.
Yeah, it could certainly convince him that he wants to do something, even if it can't directly make him do it.
Absolutely. Just want
I'm
to
assuming
sure
I'm still being
page.
pulled, which is why I'm pushing for it.
Quentin puts his hand on Van-Vee and says, look, I can pull you out of here if we need to, although it only works if you let me.
I don't think you're being pulled anymore. Main and reserve power are both online. You've fully accomplished what you asked for.
I mean, it's really the cultural warfare room that's the concern.
Captain, I would advise, given how signal penetration works with Prism Online, that Van-Vee be removed from the ship, Prism activated, and I turn on the cultural warfare room. And we see what happens, and you can monitor him outside of the ship.
I think that's very wise. Maybe you cool with that?
Well, that sucks, but 2 against 1 already, so I guess I'll start walking.
I can certainly project what we see on board.
I was going to offer, if you want to sit down and like tie me up so I don't go crazy or something, and then if something goes wrong, just unplug it. But I guess taking me off the ship is a little easier.
Given the nature of what this ship does, I'm not even sure if that's enough of a measure to stop the ship from trying to reprogram your mind.
Well, I mean, nothing I've encountered on the ship yet has shown anything near the invasiveness or the intelligence that you've got, MINERVA. Everything so far has just been kind of like your Waldos that try to give information, perform tasks, and give me the information needed to perform the task. I mean, who knows? It is called cultural warfare. It's some strong language there, but
do I feel like
assumption.
I have the ability to disable the link system on the ship?
Yeah.
I suppose another option, I understand might be a little bit of a loss for you. I could disable the link system.
Wait, you can adjust the link system?
Can it be an on-off thing? Can you turn it on and off?
It took some effort, but I was able to penetrate the security routines on the ship.
Do you think you could move me from guest access to admin? I feel like that could get a lot more questions answered without having to even turn it on.
I might be able to do so, but remember, most of the data cores are offline. We're not really running any active programs.
More access is better. We might be able to get something. There's no data at the very least that might.
I mean, I'm
reduce
just
the risk
asking you
for
to.
Van-Vee? I don't know.
Just asking you to try, MINERVA. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, the drives are dead, but
can I grant him
crew access, admin access?
I want to grant him. I want to try to
Janitor.
grant him the access that would be equivalent to like the captain of the ship, if I can.
Yeah, You fully penetrated this thing.
Sweet.
Van-Vee?
Well, let me know when you've started, Minerva.
Van-Vee, you should now be treated as the captain of the vessel.
No shit. Ship?
Yes.
What do you identify me as?
Captain.
Oh, I think you just see his face like it worked. Well,
All right, Captain. Let's see what we see. What's this got to say?
oh man, I feel like in this immediate moment, he just says, "Tell me what you know about Grace Vantis and the Scarfy system."
Computer system offline.
Oh god damn it, I didn't fix that. Right. Well, it worked, but we still ain't got no computer system, so I guess we can only still do basic diagnostics of things. Still
Records
no operating
complete.
system.
One record. Grace Vantis.
Wait, what? A record? Well, shoot. Download.
It replays the message Quentin had from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was in the buffer.
All right. Shoot. What other messages marked as important do you have?
12. It begins downloading the text.
12. Sorry, I thought you said well. I was waiting
12.
for more.
It begins downloading the text of them. They're mostly just messages that people were writing to their families, or status reports that the ship was writing to mandate command.
Mm-hmm.
At least one was a message to the jump gate in system to stand by for possible evacuation.
I'd relay this, probably like summary version, right? So there's a bunch of messages, some of them just families back and forth, but there's one about the jump gate. Holy smokes, never thought I'd hear about that term in my life. But nothing new on Grace.
Okay.
That's too bad.
Look, if you've got captain's access, I feel like this thing's not about to jump down your brainstem and take control.
How does cultural warfare room work?
Cultural warfare room offline.
Right. Well, it feels like if we want any answers, we gotta turn it on.
For it. I mean, I don't listen to me. I got a demon eye.
We have a possessed AI, a possessed psychic, and a generally decent guy with a really nice guy on the inside.
You understand that I have a behavioral baseline for you. If you wish to take this risk, we can power up the system and see if your changed position on the ship may protect you from reprogramming.
Let's do it.
If it does seem to be reprogramming you and altering your behavior, do we have your consent to protect you from yourself?
Yeah, when someone's working on something electrical and they get electrocuted and you're supposed to big boot them in the chest to get them away, just do that.
So I have permission to help protect you from yourself.
Yeah, I guess. In this one instance.
I understand. I guess we power up cultural warfare.
The empowering up of cultural warfare comes with it a VI persona that begins powering up. It identifies itself as virtual intelligence MINERVA, subtext goddess of law, sponsor of arts, and it begins attempting to connect to you because it detects that you have wireless connection. It's attempting to connect to Van-Vee, and it's attempting to connect to the ship and every wireless device in the area.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm going to cut off the comm systems on the ship.
Okay.
And I'm going to create a DMZ for it to connect to for myself.
Okay.
Well, Cap, you're not going to believe this. The Cultural Warfare has a VI named MINERVA.
At that point, it contacts you, Van-Vee, and says, Captain, MINERVA online.
MINERVA, do you have full functionality? Are you functional, or are you missing your operating system? Run diagnostic.
Diagnostic complete. I am fully functional. Attempting to access local communications has been blocked by an outside force. That's hostile
okay.
artificial intelligence is operating.
Wait, hold on. Not hostile. Hold, pump your brakes. We're just doing our own diagnostics here.
Attempting to parse pump your brakes.
Oh, shoot.
Local hard drives offline.
Right. MINERVA, how do you usually function? How do you work exactly?
I mean, it basically overloads your brain with thousands and thousands of pages of its functionality. I need you to make a mental saving throw.
Perfect.
Please download the Matrix. I would like the entire Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're simply overwhelmed on a 4.
No bueno. Okay, stop. No more.
Understood.
All right, I was looking for like bullet points. Holy smokes. I got used to
Assembling
that.
bullet points.
Wait, you know what those are? All right.
Yeah, so it presents you with its operational mission status, which is to act as the core of a transmit ship's mission, coordinating crew efforts, observing local domains, and inserting mandate-friendly operational objectives and resources.
Could it only do this with people who have the link?
No. It's trying to take over your compad right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't need
It's
the
about
link to
pop-up
connect with
eggs
it.
and-
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's why MINERVA was turning things off and setting up firewalls.
Yeah.
It can't get through the firewalls,
Excuse
which
me.
is why it told you there was a hostile AI present.
Yeah, it's just going to
That
go to
being said-
Fishtown and start saying, you need to rebuild an oil refinery.
Yeah, this thing is definitely the most valuable piece of hardware.
All right. Well, all right, guys. It's working. It clearly, AI MINERVA, it sees you as a threat for sure. I'm not saying we should test it, but we know it's fully functional. Is that all we wanted to test and turn it off and start disassembly, I suppose?
I would like to.
We can't leave this here, I guess, is what we confirmed.
If I make queries to this VI, will it give me information, or is it treating me as hostile and trying to fight me?
Exteriorly, it is treating you as hostile and trying to fight you, but you're also in the system. You made like a 12 programming roll earlier.
Could digitally kick its ass.
I mean, you are on both sides of the firewall for it and have total control.
Okay. I would like to know its operational parameters and this is a super big curiosity from MINERVA wants to download a copy of basically everything this VI knows and put it into that DMZ.
Okay. It is attempting to evade you from doing that if you're doing it from outside the ship.
No, I'm doing it from inside.
Okay. You simply copy it. It takes a lot of space.
And then, yeah, I guess I would like to.
It will be a significant burden on the ship to store this thing.
Yeah.
You
I
also detect that it was built using psionic precognitive code. It's
interesting.
capable of predicting what users would want of it and implementing that before they ask for it. It's
Do you
also
say that out
capable
loud?
of anticipating dangerous situations to the ship and informing the crew of upcoming crises.
A powerful VI.
I guess looking through the data from this thing, I'm looking to determine three things. First, if I can find any more information about Grace beyond the message that we found on the captain's terminal.
There are records that there are hard copy printouts that were authorized about Grace Vantis's profile.
Which Quentin found those, if I remember.
Correct. You already have.
Yeah.
Okay. I would also like to compare this VI's code to my own.
They are dissimilar.
Okay, so I get the sense that they probably weren't written by the same authors.
Correct. There's absolutely no way they were written by the same authors.
Okay.
If you're wondering about the name similarity, it's simply that the Roman god of law, wisdom, and art patronage, aka the god of controlling people in a sort of bread and circuses way, is Minerva.
Yeah.
and I think you come to recognize that this is not a unique entity. It seems to be like standard copy paste into transmit style ships.
Right.
Like if you came across another transmit ship, it would also have a Minerva in it.
Does it have engineering information, designs, and specs? Okay.
No. Its parameters are information and social control.
I think
Captain,
we can. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Minerva.
There is. I have acquired a significant amount of information from this VI. It will be very taxing to keep all of this information. The ship simply does not have enough data cores on it to really do much other than that. This will take up most of our storage capacity to keep it all.
Well, I mean, if we're not using it, certainly we can use it for this for the time being, but it can't be there permanently. That seems likely the case. Well, what are the most valuable parts of it? I mean, is it the actual program in itself, the personality, the capabilities? Can we separate any of that stuff out? I don't know.
I would say that the value in this information is dependent on how you wish to utilize the cultural warfare room. If you don't wish to utilize it at all, then I could certainly just grab topics of interest and remove the rest. If you wish to utilize it at all, then there is a significant amount of useful information.
Yeah. I don't know if I personally want to utilize it, but I do know that it seems like a whole hell of a lot of capability to give to this little local power here.
You'll have to be a little patient. I'm processing a lot right now.
I understand.
This feels like, feels like we don't have the capabilities of keeping it ourselves, but we don't really want it in the wrong person's hands. Perhaps we just copy or try to understand its general strategy, how it works, get the blueprint for that. But this might be the thing. I know it's valuable, but this might be the thing we choose to destroy here so that no one else can get it.
I can purge specific profiles on individuals who are no longer alive, and that should free up a significant amount of space if you wish to maintain the theories.
No. Not even close. The majority of its intelligence is, it has almost no access to hard drives. It's core programming is entirely about how to manipulate humans.
Its basic capabilities are intact without the data that, you know,
its full capabilities are intact.
Yeah.
It simply can't transmit out right now and doesn't have any hard drives. It can't form new memories.
Mm-hmm.
As the program exists right now, it is capable of resuming its mission, although it will have some difficulty in maintaining its own records and consistency in the long term.
Yeah, this thing's too dangerous.
I mean, I can't think of a single organization, friend, government that we want to have this power. Can you guys think of it? Because I'm leaning towards this. This is the one we destroy. And we just deal with the link and prism, spike drive, and fusion plant.
Yeah, I'm for making this VI to parts, essentially. Strip this thing down and whatever's left of it. That's what it is. MINERVA, any qualms about that?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, I think Van-Vee and I are proposing that we break this thing and strip it down for parts and, you know, don't give it in any sort of functional or repairable capacity to our clients here.
I think you're processing too much right now. You gotta stop multitasking. I've never seen you this behind, frankly. You can't even follow along in our conversation.
I am doing my best. I can continue.
I think you're doing too much. We don't need you to do this much.
I agree. We probably should not give this capability to other people. Do you not wish to have this capability yourself?
No, what do we need it for? Do you want it?
You wish to start an organization.
Not like this.
It's an incredible intelligence gathering tool. It is absolutely what you've described. Useful from across the board. I don't think we have the capability to keep this thing safe, even if we did take it ourselves, right? Like,
this will put a huge target on our back.
I mean, I can't give this to Finana. Did you explain to Quentin that there's like psionic code involved in this, or?
I don't think MINERVA has mentioned that at all.
Okay.
Well, MINERVA, you seem to be a bit more attached to this right now than Captain.
What are the components of the system that we have to be concerned about? Is it purely just data, or is there actual like hardware that is associated with it that we'd have to strip out and utilize? It's
essentially a ovalish spherical room that is constructed outside of the ship and then plugged into the ship physically, that has its own hardware that could be separated. Like if the ship was being boarded, they could eject this through the hull, essentially, so that it could be destroyed separate from the ship. I mean, it's a highly secret intelligence, secret police organization.
What I'm trying to understand is entirely it's not just the data. Like it's not like storing the data
software
on
and hardware. Like it's
okay.
It has its own built-in wireless transmitters that have come online and are attempting to connect to things.
Mm-hmm.
If I destroy this VI, does this remaining hardware and physical presence on the ship become damaged hard drives and paper records, basically?
I mean, paper records are paper records. You know what I mean? You destroy the VI, whatever it's stored on is going to be corrupted, but you could just wipe it and use it for something else. Transmitter is a transmitter.
Yeah. So we can rip apart the hardware, scrap that for parts.
Perhaps once we take all the other parts that we are interested in and have finished our salvaging, There is some dynamite outside still. Just blow up this room.
It's an option. It is definitely an option.
I mean, not that, I don't trust you, Minerva, and wiping the VI, but I don't know how this stuff works. I mean, to me, you plugging in, doing some digital stuff, it could work, but I know for a fact if I blow something up, it ain't coming back.
That is an understanding.
That is something that they might just notice. So,
you think they notice from? We're like under ice within the middle of the ship.
If you don't wish for them to have the ability to access any of this VI or its capabilities, I could certainly facilitate that.
Well, when you say them, I mean, I'm thinking everyone. Like, I don't want anyone to have this.
I could ensure that nobody else could access it.
I guess.
We certainly don't hand this thing over into KainDamael. I think that's like the long and short from my perspective. It's not a thing that they alone should have access to. Certainly, I wouldn't suddenly feel comfortable handing it over to anyone else. We've already the balance of power. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but this is a powerful item. Terrifying a little bit if I think about it too hard, but. Yeah, let's just assume we tear this thing apart. We scrap it for parts. We're selling. That's what we're here to do. That's what the job they told us. They didn't tell us we're not here. We're not archaeologists. We're not here to sit here and determine every value of piece of technology that is on the ship. They don't, not the value. Sorry, I said that wrong. But you know what I mean. Determine the actual usage of something that's 600 years old as far as some of this stuff goes. They don't know. There's no expectation specifically that we would have all of that knowledge. If we tear something apart for parts that's more valuable than it is, they have no reason to suspect that we knew that.
Play dumb.
It seems like the goal then is to ensure that nobody else can get access to this VI or the capabilities, to attempt to trade in some of our earnings to maintain control of the link system, and to melt the ice with the thrusters and do so with the prism activated so it burns out. It becomes a material salvage after study.
Yeah. I mean, if we have to burn this prism out to do that, yeah, I think that's fine.
I mean, the point of you studying the prism is to possibly understand it and maybe rebuild it later, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. I am on board with your plan, Minerva. You just summarized our past 4 hours into 2 sentences.
Well, I think we have a whole hell of a lot of work ahead of us, and let's come up with a work schedule.
Is this your determination, Captain? Is this the plan you wish to go forth with?
I think this is what we got to do. I don't see a better one.
I think we got to take shifts. Some of us organics here, or we're tired, man. That rescue mission, we came right back here. We didn't take any break.
Right.
It'll take some time to melt the ice.
We should probably check on Iono too, and the new doc.
I can continue to work here.
As the
episode, be all right alone?
As the episode fades out, we're at time. As it fades to black, we hear someone say, "Destroying data," and then we hear a whoosh. And we see someone's hand with like a USB drive in it trying to crush it, and then like a whip forcing them to stay in place. And then and the data drive goes and lands in someone's hand, and he goes, "It belongs in a museum," as we see, like a figure putting a familiar looking archaeological hat on their head and a definitely copyright protected theme playing as Professor Billy Brighton uses his whip to attach to a low hanging pipe and swing across a empty pit that is just mysteriously in the middle of a futuristic sci-fi room. Yeah. So I would say the following people get some XP. Quentin, you get your short-term and crew goals for 2. I think for Van-Vee, you get all 3.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think you look for more information, and as a result of that, you attempted to find your mother. So I wouldn't say you went very far in it.
I'll take it.
You
one
made an
XP
attempt.
away.
And I think MINERVA gets 3 as well.
Random question.
I'm going to let you know this so that going into next week, you aren't surprised. The prism will burn out, but only down to 80%. It's just that, like, you know, parts of it were damaged enough to turn on, and then, like, functionality was lost as power and heat flowed into them. If you want to force the prism system to overload, that's a whole separate thing. But if you were... It sounds like your whole plan was like, we just turn the prism system on and it'll burn out. And I want to be clear that you'll have to intentionally sabotage it.
Yeah. As you guys are going back and we're melting ice, it's determined that that plan is not going to work out quite the way we thought it would.
I just want to make sure you guys have something to think about for the week. Speaking of, are you guys all good for next week?
I am.
Think so.
Believe so.
Very well.
Would Van-Vee have
leveled to
had
level
any
7?
Chance to heal since his stumbling when we first got in the ship?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I don't.
Just checking.
I don't know how much XP I need to level.
You just hit level 7. Didn't you just level last session too?
I don't think I don't think I have enough to level, but I just don't know how far off I am.
Wait. Oh, level 7. Okay, never mind. I saw my attack bonus of 5 and thought that was level
54 is level 8.
Yeah, it's ways away.
54?
I saw in the cities without number beta, the change in XP a little bit is just that he put together 2 tracks for it, a like quick progression, which is the current like stars without number setup, and then a slower version, which is like essentially just like halved. Like, right, so it's like it takes double the amount of XP to get each level.
It's probably heavily based on how much RP each group does, and I'd say we are heavy on the RP side.
Well, it also had a line in there about like the middle ground, which is essentially use the slow progression use the fast progression up until like level 4 or 5, and then use the slow progression from there. Yeah,
that makes sense. I can see that.
Okay.
I mean, heck, we're averaging
like 2 or 3 a session.
3 or 4 rolls.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to slow down.
Yeah. We do a lot of talking. That's for sure.
We're good.
When we took our break today, it was like, all right, what exactly have we accomplished so far?
We debated a lot of what do we break on the ship?
Who's got a pact with who?
How broken is the ship when we deliver parts?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a plan for what we're giving them and what we want to try to negotiate for. I'm waiting for the follow-up conversation about the link system.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We have it. We can study it. We can install it.
Yeah. I mean, we assume a lot about like what their position is, and we'll see what they actually want in this situation.
I just want to be clear. Have we deleted both copies of the MINERVA VI?
No.
Oh, is the one on the ship still?
I deleted the one on the ship. Okay. I have maintained the one that's in my DMZ.
Sure. Write that down. Its value is 1 million credits.
Definitely not something we can. Now, how do we make that somehow be in the 20% side?
That's not happening.
Yeah, I know. But MINERVA would never go against her morals.
You mean morals?
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
So you know what? I'm tired.
I'm tired as well. And while normally I'd love to stay and chat for another 20 to 30 minutes, I unfortunately cannot do so tonight. So are there any final announcements or thoughts for our audience members, both here and in the future?
Any chance we can get values for the link and prism systems? Or do we not know that yet?
The link system is completely worthless.
Nice. That helps balance a million.
It requires you to have a link in order to access it.
Which is a biological organ.
Yes.
All right.
It has to be
Big
surgically
zero. That's
inserted
nice.
in your head by an unknown procedure. And creating a link is so far beyond you, you don't even know how to begin. The link system has no value because it can only be used by one known person.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Now, if prism is also worth 0, we're actually not that far off.
I think Prism would probably be valued around 24 million.
Yeah.
God.
You could buy a capital ship or a fully intact Prism system, which unfortunately you don't have a fully intact Prism system, but
80%.
you have a mostly intact Prism system.
Yeah. But so next session, we'll spend 2 hours figuring out, do we just not tell them about those 3, or do we somehow try to figure out how to buy them back? Because that ain't going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, well, part of the thing is that, like, would KainDamael even have 24 million credits to give to us at this point? Like, they are kind
if
of.
They had 24 million credits, they would just buy a spike.
That's exactly
it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like part of this is that, yeah, like.
Someone's not living up to that end of the bargain no matter what.
Yeah. They owe us 20% of a value. Yeah, I think there's room to maneuver.
I mean, 20% of 24 million. There's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's no way they entered this contract knowing what was under the ice.
Yeah, I think they wanted what they asked for, right? Like, give us the data on the ship. It's got to be some value, right? An assumption, but they wanted the fusion engine.
Yeah, I think it was also a little bit of a gamble, right? And they probably hope you come back with something, but who knows? If you come back with nothing but the 2 things they asked for, they're still happy.
I mean, a crash ship mostly intact in this era probably has a spike drive on it, or at least enough to fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The bigger concern is, what are they going to do with it? That MINERVA won't tell us about.
I mean, they owe us like $100K for the spike drive and the fusion engine alone. So
it's not that MINERVA's hiding the suspicions of them having a grav cannon so much as it's like that's not really. That's kind of whatever to MINERVA. It doesn't seem like pertinent information.
I'm just getting like Wheel of Time, Aes Sedai. Like, I'm not lying to you. I'm just failing to give you information, right?
Like I didn't know that would matter to you. I don't know. Seemed like you had other things that you were more concerned about at the time.
Let me ask you a question. How did that work out for the Aes Sedai?
Right.
Okay.
Reputation.
A reputation for being consummate liars, tricksters.
Yeah,
turned
exactly.
The majority of the world against them.
Yeah, there's a lesson in there.
Okay.
Goodness.
Okay. All right. We'll be back next week, probably. Who knows what we're going to do about this ship, but clearly there's a lot of value here. What value can the crew extract? Find out more. And find out in the comment section if Maclay 8 is satisfied with what we're doing so far. This whole show is basically
pleased you, Maclay?
Satisfying one viewer. That's it. I don't know what they're going to do once we're done with the salvaging.
Are you not entertained?
Are we off?